Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined again in the year of 2017 by Mr. Sean Keenan.
Hardy wants to know where that rock came from.
And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and 2017 is the year I become a Gilmore Girl.
You aren't already a Gilmore Girl?
No, but over Christmas break, I've been doing some binge watching.
Oh, sometimes you gotta make for the Gilmore Girls. I don't know what that means.
I'm more of a Lorelai than a Rory, I gotta say.
I could see that. That was a show I never really got into, but I was just like...
but Sean Gunn steals the show.
Okay.
I'm just gonna laugh politely right now.
Just imagine what a kind of speaking of CW shows, what one would be like if it were kind of written by somebody who does dialogue kind of Tarantino style, but has to make it PG for television.
Yeah, it kind of feels like I'm watching a community play with some of the dialogue, and that's the fun of it.
But we will not be talking about the Gilmore Girls on this week's episode, as you might have put together from the music up top. We are going to be talking about the first half of Season 3 of The Flash. Probably, I would say, our most favoritist CW show there. I mean, there's some good stuff on the rest of the things, but I'm going to say...
Riverdale hasn't premiered yet, so I'm going to hold my judgment.
This is true, though. We will be doing Riverdale in not too awful long, so, get excited for that.
I'll have a finely crafted history of Jughead for that comic book tie-in.
Why am I not surprised? I mean, and frankly, I would expect no less than that.
I would be more surprised if he didn't have one.
Yeah.
Yes.
If he just came through and was like, I don't know what this stuff is, guys. I'm very confused.
Archie?
It's, maybe. Who knows? But thank you guys so much. And we wrapped up 2016, so we're barreling on into 2017, and we're, I don't know about you, but I'm super excited about it. And we have, we started off with an email here. This one is, from Marcus. It is entitled, Proud to be a fan and supporter of the show. Hello, gentlemen. Needless to say, I love the show. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but this is the only one I've ever felt a desire to email or specifically to support. I don't even give money to my favorite NPR podcasts, and donations from listeners, their whole deal. No one needs to on that one, let's be honest. They got enough.
They sell those tote bags.
We don't have tote bags to give, so, and you have to give I actually...
$400 get you a tote bag and maybe an umbrella.
It's true. I kind of bag on NPR, but I did actually man the phone banks for a local NPR station once during a pledge drive and stuff like that. You do have to give an ungodly amount of money to get anything that's worth a darn. So it goes on. I'm proud to be a Patreon supporter of HMP and the whole family of nerdy podcasts. I discovered you guys through an awesome Preacher podcast, which became required listening for me. Then I made my way through the whole back catalog of HMP episodes. I've recently started listening to Heroes and Villains, and I love the smooth, dulcet tone of Bruce's monologue voice. He's like the Bob Ross of podcasts.
That's what I aim for, a little Bob Ross, a little Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Come on, kids. You should see his collection of sweaters. It's amazing.
I had to get rid of a lot of them after that whole Bill Cosby thing.
Oh, indeed. Just wanted to say thanks for the hours of entertainment. I'm a comic book nerd and film nerd, so you guys are definitely speaking my language. Keep up the good work. Happy holidays. That is from Marcus. P.S. I often find myself thinking, Dr. Dan Dew makes a good point, and I'm scared of what that means about myself. And I think he means the old Dr. Dan Dew, but we got a new Dr. Dan Dew now as well. So, thanks, Marcus, for writing in, man. And if you would like to help us out, like Marcus asked, go down to patreon.com/HMP and throw a couple of shekels our way, man. We got a whole bunch of people that are getting on board here. Our two biggest executive producers of the month, of course, yet again, are Matthew Schnapp and Jim Beverly. Long-time listeners, long time. Love those dudes. And, of course, Beta Foo, Khalil DeMonkel, Charlie, Warren Leo, Marcus Terry, as we just mentioned there, Eric Freeman, our good friend Rocket Face, Gorgon Campy, Marlon Goebel, Winston Spalding, Mike Eastep, Epollonius, Louis Longshadow, Lee Spevig, Steve Hayden, sure, and Lauren Carroll. Thank you guys all so much for your Patreon, donations here and everything. It is literally helping me keep the lights on and everything like that. So much appreciated to you guys. So thank you.
Yes.
All right. So guys, when you sit down and you go, hey, I've got to go through 18 different episodes of Flash this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's not quite that many. We've only got the first 9, so but before we get into this show proper and everything, let's go ahead and take a little listen to what they've kind of teased for us for season 3 here of The Flash.
There's only one thing I know about life. I know some things happen by chance. And some things happen because we make them happen. I'm finally free. I'm home.
Hey, Slugger.
There's my beautiful boy. Is everything all right?
Everything's great.
You look really familiar. I've seen you before, haven't I?
Barry.
Barry.
Barry Allen.
Right.
It's fine.
Sorry.
Some people are just meant to be in your life.
Hey. Who the hell is this?
Cisco Ramona's the richest man in America.
Is there a better way to get to work than by helicopter?
Cisco.
Don't call me that. I don't know you, String Bean.
We're not partners and we're not friends. You don't know me. You don't know my life.
We're something else to each other where you come from, aren't we?
This isn't your home, Barry. It's a mirage. It's already screwing with you and everyone you love, and pretty soon it's gonna take me right down along with you. What should we call this brave new world that you've whipped up for us? I was thinking Flashpoint.
All right, that was the trailer for season 3 of The Flash. We'll be reviewing the first 9 episodes here. My guess is our friend Bruce has a little bit of a comic book connection for this one. What do you got for us, Bruce?
Well, this will be a quick one.
Oh,
all right.
All right. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Edward Claris is known as the Rival. He's the enemy of the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick, and he first showed up in 1949. Now, Claris was a professor at the university that was attended by Jay Garrick. He was a student there, and he happened to recreate the formula that gave Garrick his speed, but he called it Velocity 9. Now, he heard one of the other students talking about how the Flash gave his speed to one of his friends, which helped him develop the formula. So Claris became bitter. He was bitter at the scientific community's rejection of his claims, and he decided to become a criminal. And he became a darker version of the Flash. He had a mask over his head. Like I said, called himself the Rival, gave the formula to other criminals. He just ran amok all over old Keystone City. Now, eventually the Flash did manage to catch him, and he was jailed, and he disappeared for a nice long time. Albert Desmond is the name of a chemist who suffers from dissociative identity disorder, what many people used to refer to as multiple identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. But he had 2 distinct personas. One was a law-abiding personality, and the other one was, let's say, a little bit more criminally inclined. Now, after he was sent to jail as a result of his first encounter with the Wally West Flash, he learned about something called the Philosopher's Stone. He escaped from jail, he found the stone, and he used its power to transmute elements and restart his criminal career as Dr. Alchemy. Now, eventually, his good personality resurfaces, and that causes him to quit crime and hide the stone. Savitar, on the other hand, is a solar deity in the Rig Veda. And I wasn't sure what the Rig Veda was, so I looked it up, and it's an ancient Indian collection of Sanskrit hymns. It's one of the 4 canonical sacred texts of Hinduism known as the Vedas. He's also a DC Comics supervillain. That one I know a little bit more about. He was created by Mark Waid in 1995, And his backstory is that he was a Cold War pilot from a third world country, and his plane was struck by what appeared to be lightning. He went down in hostile territory, and the stress of the situation led him to discover that he now had speed powers that he could use to defeat the enemies that were chasing him. He became obsessed with this speed power, and he named himself after Savitar, the Hindu god of motion, and he dedicated his life to unlocking its secrets. His obsession gained followers, and he became the leader of a cult. In search of more knowledge, he sought out the only other super speed hero at the time, and that was a guy named Johnny Quick. Savitar was defeated by Johnny Quick, kind of banished to the Speed Force. But he managed to escape decades later, and he found out that the cult of Savitar had grown in his absence, awaiting his return. He then sought to eliminate all the speedster competition. That included the Flash, who was Wally West at the time, Impulse, Golden Age Flash Jay Garrick, Johnny Quick, Jesse Quick, and especially a guy named Max Mercury. Now, it is important to note that Barry Allen was still dead at the time due to the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Wally's direct line to the Speed Force prevented Savitar from stealing his speed, and then all the speedsters kind of joined together to foil his plans. He was sort of hell-bent on at least destroying the world in retribution against Wally West, and this led him on a worldwide race of destruction until Wally managed to corner him and give him what he wanted. He merged him with the Speed Force, sending him away forever. In the Flash Rebirth miniseries, Savitar somehow escapes from the Speed Force again, but he's run down by the recently, let's say, resurrected Barry Allen, and when Barry touches him, somehow his body just kind of disintegrates and leaves a pile of bones behind. So I guess the take-home message should be that in the comics, Savitar is in no way the offspring of Ultron and a Michael Bay Transformer.
Darn it. It looks so Transformer-y, too.
Yes.
Would have been dope.
On the TV show.
So yeah, here's the so again, this is going to be spoilers for because I'm sure we'll have to track back a little bit here. Seasons 1 and 2 of The Flash and the first 9 episodes of Flash season 3.
Which, if they're cool with the season 3 spoilers, I would assume they're cool with the rest.
You never know, man. I just like
that's true.
As soon as you think you know everything's like, hey, man, I thought you were just gonna be talking about season 3. I didn't need spoilers for seasons 1 and 2. Who is this Flash person, and how did he get these powers? And you spoiled it all for me, you jerk.
There'll be somebody that listens to the second half of the season and gets mad that we spoiled the first half.
Well, this much is true. That's how the internet works, I think. So we were pretty high come the end of season 2 and everything, and them really kind of getting in and actually doing Flashpoint and everything, which was kind of a bold idea, really.
Yeah, and Sean kind of called that from the beginning of season 1, right?
Yeah. Almost, because they said that they could use it as an out for if they wanted to get him into the DC cinematic universe.
Now, if only that actually happened.
They squandered that already. But as we can see from season 3, they're not going to have any issue at all because they've been mucking with timelines now for 2 years, and that's fine. I mean, that's part of it, and it's cool. It's part of the cool. It's one of the cool things about this show, actually. I like before we really get into it, I want everyone to know this. I like the show, but I have a lot of problems with the show. But I like it.
I'm not trying to make a pun here, but I don't know how else to put it. I feel kind of like they rushed into Flashpoint and then rushed kind of out of it.
No, I mean,
it feels like there was a writer's change. Like there was a bunch of writers in the writers' room who left, and they brought in new people, and those people were like, "We don't want to write that. We want to write something else." Is what it feels like.
Yeah, it didn't seem to have the kind of consequences I was expecting.
Right. I figured that we would be messing with that for the entire season 3. And we haven't at all.
But now they kind of have that as the trope in a bag that they can just pull out anytime they want to change something in the continuity of any of the shows now.
And it's also,
and I would imagine that that's probably going to happen at some point here, is that he's going to marry Iris or whatever, and things are going to be amazing. And then he gets pulled out of that reality, and he goes back into the one from season 2.
Yeah,
it always seems like there's like kind of the Flashpoint C story that could come up at any second.
Yeah,
very true.
Agreed.
And it's given him a way to bring Eobard Thawne back, which I think's been a nice touch across the CW family of shows.
Yeah, that was a nice touch for sure. I will say this before we get into, I'll speak in generalities here first, if that's all right with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I cannot stand the other CW shows now. I've gone from this is okay, like I'll watch it if I have nothing else to watch and I just want to watch some stupid TV, to I cannot watch this at all anymore. Whether it's Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, or specifically Arrow. Arrow has gotten so unwatchable that I can't even, I won't even bother trying to watch it anymore.
Oh, I like the new influx of characters over there, but we have separate tastes.
I'll be honest, because I pretty much only watched The Flash, despite me being the only person that really actually liked on the first 6 episodes of Legends of Tomorrow for the first season there. I had him on the DVR, but never really caught up. So it's like I liked it, but I didn't love it enough to like keep on it week by week, But honestly, with where this season goes and everything, I kind of do want to go back and kind of rewatch the stuff that I missed. I'd never really gotten much into the Supergirl stuff. I mean, it was just honestly, it was mostly the CBS thing at the time. But I kind of and I got a little bit of time coming up here with which to be able to do it. So, but with the crossover and everything, it felt like I kind of it's honestly it's the comic book nerd in you coming out going, well, I don't normally read these books, but I'll go back and do the other stuff so all the pieces fit together right,
And that's exactly why they have crossovers, both in comic books and comic book television.
Oh yeah, but it's made me go, oh, I've picked up these books. Well, I might as well go back and kind of see where stuff kind of started and everything lays into place. So it's been working on me.
Well, good, man, good.
But, so we kind of start out, so the first episode is entitled, get this, Flashpoint.
Yeah, yeah? It kind of shows us the way that the world has been changed once Barry went back in time and stopped the death of his mother and apprehended Eobard Thawne. Makes it back to present day. Suddenly he doesn't have a speed anymore, but Wally does.
Yeah, this was I like this episode because this also reminds me, and we'll cover it at some point, I'm sure. One of my favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes, where Bruce wakes up and he realizes he's not Batman anymore, and we'll talk about that at some point. But this kind of gave very echoes of that great 22 minutes worth of television.
Is that the one? I won't spoil too much, but is that the one where he wakes up and he's married to Catwoman?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I'm thinking.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Episode. Yeah, there's one where they introduced Damian to the animated stuff.
No. This is like way earlier.
Yeah, this was like a pre-Damian, but yeah. Anyway, back to The Flash. I'll say this about the pilot. Well, it's not the pilot, but the season premiere episode is I did kind of get a kick out of the fact that Caitlin Snow was an ophthalmologist in this Flashpoint world.
Children's one, no less.
Yes. We don't get a whole lot of ophthalmology love in the CW shows.
Or anywhere.
Despite your vigorous letter writing campaign. We keep getting this.
Are you still waiting for that deep dive show, Bruce, where it's like ER, but it's just with eye doctors?
I'm working on a spec script now. It's called The Eyes Have It.
Mm-hmm. Does it take place in 1978? Because that's where that title belongs.
I'm in talks with Peter Hooton to star.
Ooh.
Oh, man, I'm in.
Already on board. But yeah, I'm always surprised, and I'm surprised at the complexity that kind of that CW I maybe allows might be a weird word, but these shows don't really back off of the we're going to make things complicated, just deal with it kind of thing.
Not at all. And also with Berlanti, I want to say that going into season 3 with the pictures and the casting announcements and things that have been released, and we saw The Rival, I really thought that The Rival was going to be this season's Reverse Flash or Zoom. I thought he was going to be the season-long villain, and by the end of the first episode, we find out that that's not quite the case.
Which I think is a good thing because, honestly, the first 2 seasons, we've really been dealing mostly with, with speedsters and stuff like that, which is fine, but I think we need more. I think we need more kind of variance with characters.
And I thought it was kind of a bold move to layer it. We have the surface villain that gets promoted preseason that's Rival. Then we find out about Alchemy near the end of the first episode. Then as these 9 episodes unfold, we find out there's a third layer of villain underneath it all.
It's
when
the
did we get to Chunk? When did we get to the slowest man alive? Come on.
That's what Reverse Flash should be.
I would like to see them explore something that isn't Flash going up against another speed guy. I think that they've run that course, and hopefully they do some course correcting after episode 9 here.
And they were so close to that in season 1 with the Rogues coming together, particularly with Snart and Rory, Captain Cold and Heat Wave. Mm-hmm. They really could have done something fun and long lasting with the Rogues, but they sort of steered away from that. They'll still have like a Villain of the Week episode here and there where they bring another Rogue in. I think they had the Top and Mirror Master this season. But yeah, you're right. It's going to start to seem like same villain, different costume soon.
Well, I did read a thing. Well, I didn't. I read the headline because I'm, a whole article that's basically usually tells you nothing. But apparently they're going to be they're doubling down, man. They're going to be bringing a lot of Grodd back. So.
Okay, now that I could go for, man. The big psychic talking gorilla makes a much more interesting villain for me.
Totally agree.
That's the word on the street.
Which brings me to one of the things that I cannot stand about the show, and it's just cringe-inducing.
Okay.
I love that Gorilla Grodd's on the show. I love that it works on the show. He's one of my favorite things about The Flash. But one of the things that makes me mental about this entire series is, for as good as the good parts are in this show, the bad on the show is equally as bad. The dialogue is so poor that I can literally say before they speak what they're going to say when it's not something either dealing with the timeline or power sets or things of that nature. When it's just 2 characters in a room without costumes speaking to each other, it's so poor. The writing is so bad that if I didn't think I would miss something, I would just fast forward through it.
I will admit that it does seem to go into daytime television territory with some of those moments like you're talking about.
Man, it's bad. And there is something new with this season, and we'll get to that when we get to it, where when you have an actor who is really, really good, like an amazingly good actor, it all that does is just throws a spotlight on the people on the show who aren't terrific actors.
Well, I think that's a great segue for the big event on episode 2 when Harry Wells and Jesse Quick show up and they decide to recruit a new Harry Wells.
I thought this was a really odd change for them, and you know what I really think it came about on? Tom Cavanaugh wants to get a haircut. Tom Cavanaugh wants to get a haircut, therefore we have to make this a different kind of Wells, therefore justified, I guess? Because what could he really have done that the regular Wells, who then just promptly disappears, couldn't have done himself? I thought, we're going to get 2 Wells, and this is going to be interesting. No, Tom Cavanaugh got a haircut, and they just needed to replace him with another Wells, and he just wanted to stretch those acting muscles a little bit more. It felt like that to me.
That's interesting because the feeling that I get from it is that it literally is, hey, let's see what else Cavanaugh can do, is what it feels like to me.
And I also like the idea that the writers have written themselves into a corner where it's easier to go to Earth 19, open up a portal, bring in a new version of Wells than to just say, I decided to get a haircut.
Yeah, exactly. It really feels like that. It's just like you could have been like, "Hey, and that's a great new haircut you got there, Dr. West." Oh, why, thank you, and then just move on. I don't know.
Every season, I'm always worried there's going to be no more Tom Cavanaugh at some point. And I'm glad they're keeping that going and finding ways to keep his character interesting. Though I'm still partial to the Earth 2 Tom Cavanaugh and Jesse Quick. I'd like for them just to come to Earth 1 and stay.
Yeah, and that's also another thing. Like when new Earth 19 Dr. Wells came in, him and Earth 2 Wells and Quick are just gone. They're just gone.
Yeah.
They don't even really make a proper, like, bye, everybody, we'll see you in the funny papers. They just kind of go. And I like her a whole bunch. I liked another kind of, just a female perspective in there. She just brought a lot of fun to it. And then just poof, gone.
I wouldn't mind them bringing her back, but I do think they need to stop it at 3 speedsters. If we have Barry, Wally, and Jesse, we don't need them bringing in Impulse and other things like that. I think 3 speedsters. We don't need Max Mercury. We don't need Excess. We don't need to get too carried away, but I would like the idea of 3 speedsters on the team.
And that's fine. I mean, and then
the occasional Jay Garrick pop over.
Yeah, but you can have too much of a good thing. I think that's one of the big problems. But yeah, I guess one of my we'll do a couple kind of gripey stuff, and then we'll get into things that we like. But there's sometimes where characters will have like a whole giant swing of their personality and stuff. The whole thing with Cisco's brother dying and stuff. It seems like the character in the middle almost forgets that his brother's dead, and then he's back to pouting and going, well, I don't like Bear anymore. He's a jerk because my brother's dead.
And with all the Flashpoint timeline, Quicko, Presto, Changeo stuff, I kind of wasn't real sure if his brother was alive or dead either until he started pouting. So I can forgive him for that.
And, and then there's other parts where I don't think that we focus on it too much in the Flash here, but then there's, in the crossover episodes and stuff, I mean, people got babies that they didn't have before, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, which is changing something for changing its sake. You know what I mean? Because the baby, the female baby wasn't much of a character. The male baby's not much of a character. Some of that stuff is just to let you know that there are consequences, but not any that are so meaningful that we'll have to change any of the essence of our show.
Yeah. Well,
and I think that's one of the problems with the show, actually, is that they need to have consequences to this stuff that are much bigger than, Cisco's brother, who we barely knew has died off screen. They need to have bigger, badder consequences than what we're seeing this year.
You cared a little bit more when Ronnie died.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Or even do something like they come back and he comes back to this new timeline and Iris is a police officer and Joe works for a newspaper. Just some little things like that I think would have been more interesting to me. I did like Alcoholic Joe, though.
Yeah, but
Alcoholic Joe is pretty great.
It's so great. Him just kind of doing a half weekend at Bernie's kind of style, just getting them all set up and everything. I'm gonna brush your teeth for you. Good luck.
I like that.
But it's like that kind of stuff is all in there. But you're right. It needed to be. It felt like it should have been a little bit more topsy turvy because it really did all come down to a lot of like, but Barry, but you don't know that they don't talk anymore. Like it's a lot of like really kind of stilted dialogue like that. That's just like you could have done something different that really made you feel it, as opposed to just going, "Here is the thing that I have to tell you." Ta-da!
Well, it is the weakest part of the show. The performances outside of Joe and Barry, the performances are lackluster from time to. I mean, Tom Cavanaugh aside, of course.
Yeah, he's the shining star for me.
Without a doubt, he's perfect for that role too. But everyone else in that room, in the headquarters of the Flash, everybody else in that room, their performances aren't particularly strong, and they'll have a moment here and there, but when it just comes to like the day-to-day stuff, it's like, I can see you reading from the script basically.
And something that got sort of under my skin, got into my craw a little bit, is they've got me kind of interested in what they're doing with the first 2 episodes. Then the 3rd episode rolls around and it's totally a villain of the week episode that doesn't really tell us anything new, doesn't build on the season arc at all. And that kind of seemed odd to me at the time.
It's an evergreen episode. That's why I'm sure that they I really, now that we're talking it out here, I'm almost certain that they had a writer's room change at some point.
Yeah, and you know they have they've changed the top to a female from a male. I think they changed the name from Roscoe to Rosalind. But we have the top and the Mirror Master, and I think Jesse Quick is still hanging out and helps him bring those guys down before she goes never to be seen again back to Earth 2.
Right.
Gets a new costume, which is cool.
I do like the Mirror Master episode. I thought that was a pretty good way to get around that because it seems so cheesy when you're reading it in the comic book. And they did it well in this.
Oh, yeah, and the top. I mean, talk about a character that I don't think had any business being on TV. You'd mentioned the top, but they made the top a little bit more like Count Vertigo, and it was fun.
Yeah, that was neat.
I was a little bit upset to where, you know, the chick learns that like her nickname has been the top, and she goes, I like it. Like, do you, though? That's not the best of nickname. Like, someone should have just been the top. What does that even mean? And then they get explained oh,
hey,
I mean, I guess. It would have been
a lot more fun if the guy was nicknamed the Bottom.
I was just very, very confused. She was just like, oh, that's not a bad name. Yes, it is. It's horrible.
Also, Bruce, if they called the guy the Bottom, that would be a totally different power set, and the costume would be different.
Oh yeah. But it's also, I guess, at the end of this, well, it's maybe the next episode, the 4th episode, but we start getting a glimpse into the emerging powers of Killer Frost here, where Caitlin has to start coming to terms with the fact that maybe she's doomed to being a villain.
Her and Cisco all got this, like, I can't tell nobody about my special abilities gene going on, you know?
Yeah, and I do think that the little wristband thing that they came up with is a nice device so they can have that power whenever they need it, but they don't have to pay for effects every episode.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea.
Let me put the governor on this, and we'll just make sure that everything stays okay. And I still don't know how we got to the last scene where it's just like, so, okay, I get it. You have frost powers and stuff, but somehow that can get snow to the entire city?
And at some point, I guess we got to talk about Draco Malfoy.
Well, that's exactly where I wanted to head, because he is a terrific actor, and when he is in the room, and you know when Tom Felton's in the room with the other actors, he is so good, and the character, you know, he's basically playing a version of the character that he's been playing his entire life.
True.
Yeah,
but he's good at that. He's very good at that. And
he has one key subtle difference too. He has kind of a beard this time.
Well, he is a man now.
I was just waiting for him to say Potter. I mean, Alan. Sorry.
I kept looking for the Slytherin tie to make an appearance.
Hey, man, but when they came out with the Philosopher's Stone itself, you're just like, oh, come on now. Brilliant.
If it weren't straight from the comics, I would have rolled my eyes. But it is straight from the comics.
So
though
cool.
It could have been some stunt casting there.
So cool.
I thought he was. I think he's great in this. Do you guys like him in this role?
I think he does exactly what he's supposed to do, which is make you not like him. You know. I think he's doing a great job, and I can tell he's doing a great job because I find the character annoying by intent. You know, he's supposed to be sort of a nefarious character.
Right.
And he's a jerk from Go, and it's kind of fun.
What about
one thing, though?
What do you think? What do you think, Adam?
He's a jerk from Go, and that's what's kind of fun. He just kind of like automatically, he's already just like, look, Barry, you get on my nerves. I don't like you being around here. You know, just go away. He's the guy that's running the department now, and Barry's just getting in his way.
Yeah, and I guess was Draco created by Flashpoint? Like, did he just show up with no explanation, or did they say, "Oh,
yes.
Look, it's the new CSI"?
Yeah.
No, because remember, there's that entire episode where he and I think it's 2 or 3, where Barry is just dumbfounded that this person is in his lab. And not only that, but the guy doesn't like him, and you know, he's calling him out on stuff. And to me, that is a vastly more interesting character arc than what's happening with Cisco right now. Because I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but I think that Draco Malfoy, and I can't believe I keep calling him that, I think that he brings something to the show that was missing, which is that there's a character who thinks that he is doing the right thing, even though might be on the wrong side of things. And it's so much more interesting than watching Cisco pout that his brother's dead.
And here's how the terms I would put it in. I think that Julian, which is Draco Malfoy's name on the show, which by the way is not his real name. I can't remember the actor's name, but Julian is essentially a low-level X-Men villain. He's the guy that hates the metas. He refuses to think that any meta can be good because he's known a few bad ones. I mean, that's a plot straight from the X-Men, isn't it? About someone who hates mutants, all mutants.
It is, but that makes this whole show a little more interesting. Is that yes, but he believes what he is doing is the right thing. Like his character is not someone who I'm going to be bad because I have these powers and I want to beat people up, But I do think they missed an opportunity. I think the writers missed an opportunity in the first half of the season here with that actor and that character of Julian. I keep calling him Draco, but I think they should have made him more of a Snape. And what I mean by that is we all expect him to be the villain. We see the actor. We think that actor is going to be cast as a villain. He hates Barry and the metas in the show. We're all pointed, everything is pointed at him as being alchemy. And I think he should not have been alchemy in the end. I think they should have been convinced he was. Alchemy should have been trying to make it look like he was. Then at the end, they find out that it was never him. I would have liked it. I totally agree, but this isn't that show. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
This show doesn't have that complexity to it.
This show has a giant shark man that runs around sometimes.
That's right. And he's really cool. And then they'll cut to, everyone's drinking coffee again.
At CC Jitters.
That's right.
Oh, are they ever going to open a chain of those? Like, will this show ever get big enough that they open a CC Jitters in our hometowns?
I guarantee you that Berlanti has plans somewhere.
If Luke Steiner could do it, so can CC Jitters.
Absolutely.
But, I'm fine with him being kind of the, guy we expect him to be. Doesn't really. And, I wish it bothered me, but it doesn't. So that's good.
And I think by episode 5, Savitar shows up. And I want to hear your all's thoughts on Savitar, and then I'll give you mine.
You're right. He did look like a transformer.
Yeah,
with a touch of Ultron.
He looks exactly like Megatron in the first Transformers movie.
And why? I mean, my question is why? That's terribly expensive. It's not faithful to the comics. I don't know that it adds that much appeal. I think if they'd made the character just this sort of mysterious, sort of dark-haired, dark-skinned guy under a mask, and we didn't know much about him, and, we find out maybe he's 1,000 years old or something, I think I would have liked that better than this big robot thing, which nothing about a robot seems ancient Hindu to me.
I'm guessing that there's a playbook somewhere where they're saying, okay, so we've had 3 villains that are actors in costumes. Now we have to have a CGI character. They did it with the shark guy. They do it with Gorilla Grodd, where every couple episodes you got to have that CGI villain because it's so, otherworldly. And it just feels like the machine of cranking out these episodes, that's how they work. Oh, we've had the top. We've had alchemy. now let's make a robot.
So that's a straight line. It goes top, alchemy, robot.
Well, it's basically, hey, listen.
Hold on, I'm taking notes.
The guys on NFL football on Fox, they got Cletus, the robot,
right.
the football playing robot. Let's do that. That's really what it feels like.
Guys, this weekend I saw a robot. He went and spiked a ball. Changed my life.
Oh, man, we all sound like the dad on the Goldberg saying robot over and over again. It's robot, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, it is.
No.
Lest anyone...
We're going to get called out on the...
Lest anyone just go... There's not
Jewish pronunciation of robot.
There's not 1, not 2, but 3 people who say robot as opposed to robot.
Well, I had a sketch comedy show for a million years where I had to say the name 1,000 times a day. So forgive me for using robot instead of saying the word robot.
Robot Johnson. That has a better ring to it.
I like it.
It does, actually.
It's the best Jewish comedy.
I've started my own troupe called Robot Johnston.
Ooh, even better.
I love it. You should do it.
But it's
me and my dog, but we're working on it.
I was gonna say it's a one-person comedy troupe.
Very light on the comedy.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Like Smashing Pumpkins, where it was just Billy in the studio, and he's like, "I gotta hire some people." Like, that's a great idea.
And what's amazing, he hired no less than like 3 Asian female bassists, which I admired his consistency in that regard.
Hey, you got to go with what works and keep it working, man.
Hey, man, they make good bassists. What can I tell you?
That's a good Billy
But
Corgan.
yeah, Savitar, man, the character, I don't care for what they've made him look like, but I think it's a good step up. We had Reverse Flash, we had Zoom. Where do you take it from there? You bring in a god. And that's exactly what happened in the comics around the Bronze Age, where it's like, okay, we fought everything conceivable, so let's get Jack Kirby to take this to a new level. And the Fourth World Saga came around, and they're just kind of taking it that way. And I do like the character Savitar, a relatively new character compared to the Reverse Flash and Zoom. But I wish they'd made him a little more mystical and a little less technical.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. You're the only person that knows the backstory of this character.
Me and Mark Waid.
No one watched.
we
Yeah,
chat about it.
Mark Wade's sitting at home, chewing on a cigar, going these so and so's, and you. But that's about it. Everyone else is just going, "Oh, new robot. Good job."
What I would like to see is the muscly boy of Wally West show up somewhere.
I like
from that failed Mark Waid plot line, where everyone was like, "What are you doing to the Flash? You were great. What's happening?"
Mark Waid has a great thing of doing like, "Hey, here's some great stuff," and then it's like, "What are you thinking?"
Yeah. That was all 3 of my answers, and they were in agreement. But after Savitar, after this season, when inevitably Barry defeats the God, where do they go next to make it even bigger? Maybe they distract us.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's going to be future Barry is the bad
Yes,
guy.
that's the answer I was looking for. Awesome. We're on the same page, Sean.
Yeah, they have nowhere else to go.
Well, because they do get a message from like a 40-plus-year-old Barry from the future just going, "You made a giant mistake." And I'm like, we've kind of known that for a while now, that he made a giant mistake going back. Yet he's still in the future going, "Man, I really screwed up. Better tell myself a thing in the past going, 'Hey, buddy, you really screwed up.' Don't send it back even further to where he cannot make that mistake. But just tell him later on going like, 'You screwed up, pal.'"
Do you think they'll ever reach a point where they'll give Barry kind of the Oracle treatment? Maybe they'll make him paralyzed for a while and he's in a wheelchair and he has to be like the sage advisor to Wally?
Tom Cavanaugh's like, "That's my gig, player."
Because we already know the way that this show works, they'll do it for maybe 2 episodes.
Yeah, much like what they did with Felicity over on Arrow. She was in her wheelchair for like 2 episodes and then mysteriously cured.
I don't know of that show. That show does not exist in my world anymore.
It's the one with the handsome guy.
Oh, that one.
I did like the I did like the bit where in the crossover episode and everything, Iris finally figures out that Oliver is Arrow, and she just goes, "Oliver Queen is Arrow?" He's like, yeah. She's just like, "Oh, he's so much hotter now." So she's got a vigilante tight, man.
Now, do you guys like the idea of the Philosopher's Stone? The idea that there's such a simple way to defeat Savitar, yet they still seem to struggle with it?
I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think that it was a stopgap measure, and we're going to run into that again and again and again this year.
I thought it was a good way to explain why he had to go all Voldemort. I mean, we're just rolling with the Harry Potter now that they brought Draco in here.
That's their fault.
But I like the idea that he's still got such a glaring weakness or vulnerability that he needs to act through proxy agents. That explains the need for alchemy. That explains the need for these flashpoint metas that alchemy can somehow access across the timelines. I like that. And the Philosopher's Stone is historically alchemy's thing, but I like the way they've tied it into Savitar.
And the nice thing too is that you do have somebody that's as good enough of an actor as Tom Felton to be able to give that kind of like, oh, I didn't know I was doing this kind of thing, and you actually buy that, and that it's not some just a line they're reading.
His name is Tom Felton?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like an Englishman. That sounds like the guy that changes my oil.
Hold on. Tom Felton. Better?
Oh, much better.
There you go.
Thomas Felton.
Oh, Felton. He's not one of the NSYNCs. But no, it's really good. I like him in there, and you're right. Just having a really good actor in there can only do a couple of things. It either A, brings up everybody's game around them, or B, shows everybody for the fraud of which they are.
Right, and that is what happens.
And I wish they had rearranged their season just a little bit so that the crossover was the last week of the season, because we have that crossover that throws us a little bit askew. Then we get the mid-season finale after that. I wish they'd reversed that order so we could have a mid-season finale, then let this just kind of be like a bonus episode.
It wouldn't have wrapped up with Christmas at the same time, which is such a dumb reason to have that be, which is what it was, clearly.
Well, I think what we're looking at here is a scheduling conflict, and that's why they did it when they did it.
And
it's the only reasonable explanation, because if you are a right-thinking person, you would absolutely put this at the end of all of their seasons,
or at the beginning.
I was about to say, or at the beginning of the second half, to where you're just like, hey man, so you're gonna want to watch all of this, coming up for the next couple of weeks, because I think putting it at the mid-season or the mid-season ender and everything, that could also be like, oh well, a couple weeks will go by at this point, and I'll be like, oh, I don't really watch that show, so I'm not going to watch it anymore. Whereas if you did it, right at the beginning, you might catch enough people to go like, hey, this I might dig on this. Let's go back.
It would have been a beautiful launching point for the second half of the season, and you launch your second half a week before everybody else launches theirs. You know what I mean? And give us this crossover. Kind of package it as a separate thing, and then you can sell your own little DVD or Blu-ray that has those 4 episodes on it, and you don't have to worry about where they fit into the whole schedule if you're trying to reconstruct the season.
Oh, you just go Doctor Who style.
This circus is sure going to look different when we're in charge.
Oh, there'll be way more clowns and way fewer human cannonballs. But anyway, let's talk about the crossover episode. I don't know how much there is to say, because we're just covering one part of what was really a 3-part crossover, not a 4-part crossover, and it didn't really tie into much other than they dropped a few flashpoint facts on us.
Yeah, and you had the basic kind of alien there for all 3 of the big ones and stuff. So kind of.
I mean, the Dominators, that comes from this alien invasion storyline from the comics, like 86. I'm thinking I might be off by a couple of years.
You're right there, though, Bruce, because this is exactly my time of just being so deep into comic books is around this era. And I thought they did a great job with the Dominators. I thought they looked great, at least on the Flash episode, because I didn't see the others.
Yeah,
and they even had sort of like a picture that somebody drew that looked exactly, I mean, not like similar to, but it was just a picture of the comic book version of the Dominators, which was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was good. I thought they were by and large pretty good. Sometimes the CGI was a little bit on the shoddy side, but it's, I mean, again, it's network television, and they got to produce 22 episodes a year,
Yeah, I thought they did fine.
It's tough.
Yeah, I thought it looked great, man.
But I don't have an eye for that. I've said that more than once.
But I liked it well enough. I thought it gave enough kind of flesh out to all these other people. And like I said, it did the job for me. I'm like, man, I need to go back and start watching those other shows again, because I had enough of a fun time.
And I kind of like the idea. It's sort of inevitable when you have a big superhero crossover thing that there's some mind control going on, so you have an excuse to have 2 heroes fight against the others.
Oh, of course. And that's some of the best stuff of it. Now, Bruce, let me ask you this, because you've been watching Supergirl regularly, yeah?
Yep.
So is the new Superman stuff, is that good?
Not in my opinion.
No? I've heard good things.
He was on for the first 2 episodes of the season, and just gotta say that he doesn't feel like Superman to me. Especially when I wait a couple nights later and see Brandon Ruth as Ray Palmer and think he was a better Superman.
Well, yeah, because that's sort of what I've heard. Is like it's like he's not really a great Superman, but yet it somehow kind of works a little bit because it seems like, and again, I not having seen it, I'm just going by kind of what I've heard through the grapevine, but it does seem like he's got a bit more of the Superman characteristics than, say, the Zack Snyder movies would.
But he looks like Superboy. I'm just going to put that out there.
Fair enough. He does look young.
He looks 24. I think the actor's maybe 30, but in Hollywood, by the time you're 30, you better be looking 24 or retired.
That's true.
So that's just what got me. He looked more like a Superboy. If they called him Superboy, I would have been cool with it.
That's an excellent point because I've seen those episodes. I saw those too, and he really does. That's the best way to put it. To think of him as Superboy. That's really good, Bruce. And
the high point of the crossover, which you guys, I think maybe you saw it, Adam.
Yeah,
I don't think you did, Sean. But in the Legends of Tomorrow, the grand finale of the crossover, Kara Danvers, Melissa Benoist, she walks past Ray Palmer, Brandon Ruth, and he looks over at her and says, "She looks kind of like my cousin," which is a nice in-joke to those of us who remember that he played Superman and that Supergirl is Superman's cousin.
I love that so much. I was just like, oh, good on you, television program.
And then the second highest point also happened in that finale episode, and the Chubby Wizard listeners will understand why I got such a thrill out of hearing Nathan Haywood say, "Have fun storming the castle."
But I'll say this, and one of the reasons, and it was with this, and I liked her in the pilot stuff that we reviewed back when, but some about Melissa Benoist, I really like her.
Me too.
She just seems
it's because she's really cute and a good actress.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's at the end of the day, you're not wrong.
What more could you ask for? She's extremely talented, beautiful, and nice.
Well, there you go.
And wants to be there. That's the other part to it.
You've cracked it. It's all of those things. That is absolutely true.
And it's so rare that I'm around a girl who wants to be there, so you got to appreciate it.
Amen.
My wife, my daughter, they both would rather me just go to another room and sit.
Just please leave. So Killer Frost, let's touch on that before we kind of start closing stuff up a little bit. What do we think about Killer Frost? Because part of me is just like, I really want to get into it and have that needs to become something by the end of this season. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be extremely angry.
I would love her to be that full-blown villain that Barry has to stop to save everyone in the city from dying, but at the same time, he's got to do it with a soft touch. He doesn't want to hurt her. And there would be no better time to find out that Flashpoint has resurrected Robbie and have him come back as Firestorm and be the one that has to stop her.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
And I called him Robbie because it's Robbie Amell. I know the character's name is Ronnie, but you can't have an actor named Robbie play a character named Ronnie and expect me to keep it straight all the time.
Robbie.
Yeah, at the very least, they should pull a Tony Danza like they used to do with him and just call every character of his Tony.
We called the character Mark before, but he would never know when his cues were.
Or they could go the other way around and make Robbie Amell change his name to Ronnie. I'm happy with that too.
Yeah, sign these papers. You have to change your name in order to be on our program. He's like, but I'm only going to be on it for a couple episodes. Do it.
It seems like he's trying to distance himself as far as possible from all of these things, though.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I say that. Something. He was in the X-Files revival.
Oh, that's right.
But
he's good in that.
I thought that his public statements are that he's totally open to returning. He just left to do that X-Files thing, which, I can understand that.
I think I have his statement here. Let me pull this up. Is you got to give me money, sucker. I don't know why he would put that in those specific words. But
I heard one time in the locker room, because the CW has locker rooms for their actors, that he got a glimpse He got a glimpse over at his brother's paycheck and noticed it was significantly larger than his. So now he's afraid to go back into that locker room.
Indeed, that can be tough.
Who wouldn't feel that way? Jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So any other kind of final thoughts? Where do we want things to go?
I like what we said. I like the idea of Caitlin becoming a full-blown villain that Ronnie has to come back to stop. That would be good. I think I would like to see the hero turn for Julian. I think that's being telescoped that's going to happen. And I would like to see Savitar kind of end up going away and not making that much of an impact.
I would like to see Mark Hamill go bananas on this show.
Did you see the episode, though, where Barry goes to Earth 2 and Mark Hamill is robbing a bank and has the bombs around him and Jay Garrick tries to stop him? Mark Hamill was phenomenal in that episode.
He's great, and he's got the giant teeth. He looks awesome.
Pour it on a little Joker in there. It's lovely.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is this Earth 3, I think is where they are, not Earth 2, but this Earth 3 trickster is Mark Hamill's Joker. I mean, there's no trickster to it. The voice is pure Joker. The look is pure Joker. I'd like to see more Jay Garrick around. I love John Wesley Shipp. Mm-hmm. I've got my nice autographed picture of John Wesley Shipp and Mark Hamill up on the wall.
John Wesley Shipp did a bunch of working out in the off season. Jeez, he looks great.
Yeah, he canceled a comic convention when he found out he was getting this larger role, and I figured it was because he needed to get into shape.
Well, it worked. Good job by him.
He's like, man, the gym at the Marriott ain't got what I need.
Yeah, he can afford that Gold's membership now.
Yeah, he went over to somebody we'll talk about in a second. It's just like, hey, what do you got over there that's doing this for you, Mr. 70-year-old man? I need some of that, even a small dose.
Stallone hasn't been shy about that. He freely admits to.
The secret is eating fresh moose placenta.
Is that right?
No more than 20 minutes old.
It only works if you actually wrestle it out of the moose with your own hands, though.
That's because it's like you're stealing its spirit. Native American style or something like that, where it's just like, if you don't do it, it's like its essence doesn't come directly to you, but only to the hands with which you pulled it from the loins of the moose. I like that.
Hold steady, Bullwinkle.
Oh my gosh. Well, we've already mentioned him. Now it's time to bring him out in full force here. We have to find out how the Flash relates back to our good friend Sylvester Stallone.
Hey, thanks, Adam. I got a prepared statement.
Oh.
Mark Hamill has played the trickster for so long that Grant Gustin was 1 year old when he started playing that role.
Gosh.
And while Mark Hamill might be known for bigger roles and bigger movies, he seems to genuinely love playing the trickster, which can't be said for other cast members on this very show. But I'd be neglectful of my duties as a nerdy nerd with comedy bits if I didn't address the elephant in the room, which is Mark Hamill's most famous zeitgeist turn as Kenneth Dantley Jr. in Corvette Summer. I think everyone listening to this podcast remembers exactly where they were the first time they heard Mark Hamill say the line, "Mr. McGrath, you a dance monitor? You look like something off the Lawrence Welk show." Classic. Everybody remembers Lawrence Welk. That's a timeless joke. I've never actually seen Corvette Summer, but when interviewed about it, Mark Hamill insists it's a romantic comedy. And if that's true, perhaps the boys in marketing should have workshopped the title a little bit longer, because I don't claim to be an expert in the feminine mind, but I'm going to guess that Corvettes appeal to maybe 11 women in America. You know what else? You know what else doesn't send ladies into a lust spiral? Talking about the Muppets. And that's exactly what I'm about to do. So keep it in your pants, ladies, and remember, I am not available. You see, Mark Hamill was on the Muppet Show as the guest host one week, and if you've never seen it, look it up. It's what you wanted the Star Wars Christmas special to be. It's weird, it's funny, and while there is no Boba Fett cartoon in the middle of it, B. Arthur is also not with a song. So it's got both pros and cons. And you know who else guested on the Muppet Show? John Denver. But so did Sylvester Stallone. Far more interesting, however, is the story that came out a few months ago about what almost happened. The criminally underrated movie Zombieland has a surprise cameo by Bill Murray. But just in case he turned it down, the producers also spoke with both Mark Hamill and Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, it's way better that it's Bill Murray, but it's fun to think about what could have been. And there you have it, HMPers, this week's Stallone connection. Now, Fozzie and Gonzo, let's review this half season and wonder how much longer before the rest of the world catches on that the rest of the CW universe is complete garbage.
That's HeroMoviePodcast@gmail.com. All right, so let's get down to reviewing the first 9 episodes of Season 3 of The Flash. Bruce, what do you got for us?
Sean, are you wearing a hat?
No.
You need to put one on and hold on to it because Season 3 of The Flash is the only current season of those shows on the CW that I think is not as good as the season before it. I think Legends of Tomorrow's better. I think Supergirl's definitely better since it left CBS. I think I already said Legends of Tomorrow. I think Arrow's fun. But Flash is still better than all those shows. I just don't think that I'm liking this season as much as I like the last 2. But I still like it a lot. I think I probably gave the last 2 the old Dick Grayson. I'm going to give this one to Tim Drake.
All right, very good. Sean, what you got?
Well, first of all, I'm glad I wasn't wearing a hat because I would have torn it off my head and thrown it down on the ground with disgust.
I'll show you.
I was hoping for a magician's top hat.
While I do have a little bit of a Slash vibe to me. I think that I'm pretty much in the same area that you are, Bruce. It's a high Damian Wayne for me. This show is starting to show signs of. I can see the mechanics behind it. The first 2 seasons of the show, it kind of zigged and zagged, and it felt different and fresh, and the dialogue wasn't great, and everyone's always drinking coffee all the time, and will they or won't they, and all that garbage. But the stuff, when it was good, it was great. And that's still the case with this show, where when it's good, it's really good. But when it's bad, it is so bad. And it seems like there's more and more of those bad moments with this show. And there's the other part to the show, which is that it's sort of embarrassing to watch from time to time. It is. It just is. So for me, it's a high Damian Wayne this year so far.
Okay. I'm going to go with Tim Drake on this one as well. I probably kind of fall right in the middle to where it needs a little bit more help. It needs kind of the Flash and everything, no pun intended, that the first 2 seasons had. It is lacking a little bit of that. But at the same time, it is also lacking a bit more of those kind of like sit-down, coffee, cry-out moments and stuff like that, which I'm all for getting rid of. We don't really – I'm not a 14-year-old girl, so I don't really – it's not in my wheelhouse there. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm still having fun. It's my favorite of all the CW shows, but this season in the crossover episodes has made me kind of want to go back and watch the others. That may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so next week, now on this show, we've reviewed a lot of things of dubious quality, but we have something next week that may top the charts. This may outdo Doctor Strange. This may outdo, what are some of our other classics?
Power Pack.
Power
Generation
Pack.
Power Pack is definitely there.
That Nick Hammond Spider-Man thing, huh?
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. But this is something that I'm
one.
sure that most of our audience has not seen. If you want to see it, it's on YouTube. It's called It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. It's from 1975, and it is a musical. That's right.
Our first musical.
There's a Superman musical, and it's as good as you would imagine it to be. If you look on YouTube right now, where you can see it for the freeze, it's Superman, the 1975 musical is what I see it listed under. And there looks like there's a couple different ones out there. So pick your quality of choice, if you will. But that's what we're going to be doing next week, and boy howdy, I'm.
If you guys promise to focus on the music, I'll key in on the dancing. That way, we'll have a good, well-rounded review.
I always said it. Bruce has the dance moves more than anyone else. We all know that. It's kind of a given, really.
Nothing more entertaining than watching a chubby guy dance. You know it's true.
Indeed. I mean, why do you think Rerun was so popular?
That's very true.
Indeed. Now it's sass mouth and dancing. All right. So in the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week, sir?
Chubby Wizard, chubbywizard.com. We keep pumping out episodes talking about the week's comic books and other things of that nature. Taking a little bit of a holiday break on Heroes and Villains, but it'll be coming back strong here soon. I've been enjoying the holidays, working on something else, another little project. But Heroes and Villains will be making a strong comeback with a character other than Santa Claus for the next episode.
And, of course, Mr. Keenan.
You can reach me at my new website, sassmouthanddancing.com. You can also reach me on Twitter at HeroMovieSean.
And, of course, we got HeroMoviePodcast.com and Patreon.com/HMP, iTunes, all that kind of good stuff. You guys know what it is. And Film Find coming back again. We did an episode about a week ago. I had to move, so I couldn't do another episode, but we'll be doing one yet again. But if you'd like to hear me talk about the top 10 movies of the year with my good friends on Outside the Cinema for about 3 hours for that episode, why don't you head on out and look those guys up as well. That's Outside the Cinema, so good stuff over there as well. All right, everybody, that is it. Join us next week when we talk about Superman the Musical. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. For Sean Keenan and Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.